Hi friends, this is Dr. S.K. Pandey with another important topic and today we are going to discuss NPT. NPT that is Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. NPT or Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was an attempt to stop the proliferation of nuclear capabilities in the world. Actually, we know very well that when the United States of America understood how nuclear technology, how nuclear material could be used potentially to establish supremacy in the global political spectrum, global strategic spectrum, that basically changed the global scenario. You know very well that when at the end of the Second World War, when Japan was almost at the end of defeat, at that time, two nuclear bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, were dropped respectively on 6 and 9 August 1945 on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We know very well that thousands of people were killed immediately after the explosion of these bombs, and the fatalities were experienced even decades after this particular development. So after the end of the Second World War, the world came to know about the devastating consequences of the use of nuclear arsenal. But despite that, the nuclear technologies, the nuclear material, the nuclear arsenal subsequently, they kept on building up. They were made, they were developed with more strength, with more power, with more devastative capabilities. After United States of America, many more countries like Soviet Union, Britain, France, and China also got this strength gradually. And when these five countries got the nuclear capabilities, and these five countries were the permanent member in the newly world order, and in the United Nations, these were the permanent member of the Security Council. So you know that the Security Council was the key of this newly developed world order. So you know that it was thought that however, the monopoly of United States on nuclear capabilities was challenged when these capabilities were achieved, were had by other countries as well. But despite that, these elite countries wanted that the nuclear capabilities should remain restricted within them. And subsequently, in this very backdrop, you know that nuclear material, nuclear technologies were thought to be restricted, were thought to remain restricted within these five elite countries, the permanent member of UN Security Council and the key player in the global politics. And subsequently, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or NPT was drafted. So we know very well that by 1964, USA, USSR, UK, France and China had acquired the nuclear capabilities, and these countries did not want the proliferation of nuclear technologies, nuclear material, nuclear capabilities, so that the so-called efforts could be made to maintain the world peace and order. There have been efforts of disarmament in the world simultaneously after the Second World War, and disarmament, you know, means absolute elimination of the weapon of mass destruction, which include nuclear weapons. This is basically a prohibition on the development, production and use of weapons of mass destruction. So this is the backdrop of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. What was the objective of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty? The basic objective of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was not to let nuclear capabilities proliferate beyond these five permanent members of UN Security Council, beyond these five countries which were the most powerful countries of the world at that time. And that is why there was a provision in the treaty that the countries who possess nuclear capabilities prior to January 1st, 1967 shall be treated as legitimate powers, and the countries having tested the nuclear capabilities after 1st January 1967 shall be treated as illegitimate efforts to have nuclear capabilities. So at the very outset, this treaty appears to be discriminatory. And when it comes to the criticism, many countries, including India, has not signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and India says that this is discriminatory. Of course, this is discriminatory because on one side, the treaty aims to stop the proliferation. On the other side, it does not make any provision to include these five members elite club to abandon the nuclear capabilities, to end the nuclear arsenals. So we can understand that vertically this treaty doesn't make any provision to reduce the threat of nuclear weapons and the proliferation to continue even after this treaty comes into force. On the other side, the treaty stops the countries to progress in the nuclear material, in the nuclear capabilities. You know very well that the horizontal expansion of treaty only is restricted, but not the vertical. So this is discriminatory by nature, and that is why many countries have not signed this treaty. India is one of such countries which has not signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. You know very well that after the treaty came into existence, and you know thereafter as well, we can find that the proliferation of nuclear material, nuclear technologies is still going on, and it actually there are many countries which have now acquired the nuclear capabilities, and the current scenario is about Iran's nuclear program, which actually has been talked in many circles, from academia to media to the strategic level. And the latest developments in Iranian nuclear program is that there are talks between Iran and the United States to discuss the Iranian nuclear program. Let me tell you that the neo-realist thinker Kenneth Waltz, who has written Theory of International Politics, and he's known as the precursor of neo-realism, he says that Iran should be given the opportunity to have the nuclear weapons, to nuclear capabilities, and according to him, this would establish further peace and normalcy in the Middle East region. However, he's criticized the current president of United States appears to settle this dispute, but which is actually in the predecessors of Donald Trump, they have tried somehow to regulate the Iranian nuclear program. So let's see what happens. But as long as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, despite of this treaty, many countries acquired nuclear capabilities. Let me make it clear that as long as India's nuclear program is concerned, it's a very particular because it is devoted to peace. You know, when India conducted the very first nuclear test on May 18, 1974 at Pokhran in Rajasthan, it was described as the smiling Buddha. You know, Buddha is the symbol of peace. He's the epitome of peace in India as well as in the world. And you know very well that after independence, India has been facing several threats, and you know that the most recent development that Pakistan sponsored the massacre in Pahalgam, and despite of taking action against the terrorist on its own land, Pakistan appears to retaliate India's efforts to eliminate terrorism, which is actually against the humanity. It's not the matter of India alone, it's the matter of humanity. On the other side, we can take, for example, China also got the nuclear capability in 1964 with a nuclear test, and you know that in such strategic scenario. India conducted nuclear test for the first time in 1974, and then on 11th and 13th of May 1998. Again, I would tell you that India's nuclear doctrine explicitly mentions no first use, and India also says in its nuclear policy that India would never use the nuclear arsenal against the country which is not having nuclear weapon, or won't ever initiate the nuclear war. So India on the other side is saying that this is not the time of war. As Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, you can listen to him several times, and still he keeps on saying that this is not the time of war, this is the time of peace, this is the time of business, this is the time of progress. Despite that, some countries like Pakistan doesn't bother. They wish to destroy themselves. They never bother the welfare of their people, the prosperity of their people. Instead, they have the medieval ideas to execute, and in that situation, India has taken a very right decision, not signing the NPT until and unless any effort which aims to eliminate nuclear weapons comprehensively, it's meaningless to sign. It's a discriminatory, and since it's a discriminatory, obviously this will establish another monopoly of few countries having the nuclear capabilities over others having the conventional capabilities. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for watching this program. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your feedback. That's it from me today. Thank you.